Direct News TV. March 13, 2024. Russia-Ukraine war news. Ukraine hits refineries in major drone attack. Ukraine's SBU security service carried out drone attacks on 3 Russian oil refineries in Ryazan, Kstovo, and Kirishi overnight. President Vladimir Putin says Russia's nuclear triad, weapons delivered by land, sea, and air, was much more advanced and modern than those in the United States. Russian National Guard says it repelled attacks in Belgorod. Members of the Russian National Guard killed 30 people who tried to invade the Belgorod region on Tuesday, the force's press service has told the state news agency TASS. In the early morning hours of March 12, over 300 enemy fighters backed by armored vehicles tried to break through the state border into the Belgorod region. As a result of the Russian National Guard's actions, 30 fighters and 2 mortar crews were destroyed, the statement said. As we previously reported, pro-Ukrainian militias on Tuesday claimed multiple attacks on Russian border regions, but Russian authorities insisted they beat back the raids. Polish farmers to allow trucks to cross into Ukraine. The protesters blocking the Dorohusk checkpoint on Poland's border with Ukraine have said they will allow trucks to cross into Ukraine but will still prevent cargo from entering Poland. For more than a month, farmers have been blocking checkpoints on the border to protest against an influx of Ukrainian produce, which they complain is hurting their livelihoods and reducing their profits. But the protests organizers said today they would open the border temporarily. This is our gesture towards Ukrainian drivers so that they can return to their families, to their country, Wojciech Los, the protest leader at the Dorohusk crossing, told the Polish state news agency, PAP. Los said despite the opening the farmers were neither suspending nor ending the protest and would continue to prevent trucks from entering Poland from the war-torn neighboring country. We are now waiting for a reaction from the Prime Minister, the Agriculture Minister and Ukraine, Los added. Ukraine says it hopes to get artillery shells pledged by Czech Republic soon. The Foreign Minister of Ukraine says his country hopes to get the first batch of artillery shells promised by the Czech Republic soon to address critical shortages of ammunition. According to the preliminary signals we have received, the first part of the shells will be delivered in the foreseeable future, Dmytro Kulba said, speaking at a news conference alongside his Moldovan counterpart, Mihai Popswa. This will not take many months, but the Czech initiative is designed to be implemented throughout the year, he said, adding that frontline troops would feel the effects soon. Last week, Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala said his country had raised funds to buy 300,000 artillery shells for Ukraine, lower than the 800,000 initially suggested by Czech President Petr Pavel. Sports Minister says Russia should not boycott Paris Games. Oleg Matytsin has said Russia should not boycott the upcoming Paris Olympics despite restrictions on its athletes over the war in Ukraine. We should not turn away, close ourselves or boycott this movement, the sports minister said. We should as much as possible keep the possibility of dialogue and take part in competitions. Last year, the International Olympic Committee suspended Russia from the Games but said athletes can compete as neutrals outside of team events if they do not actively support the Ukraine campaign. Russia slammed the decision but had been unclear until now about whether it would recommend its athletes go to Paris anyway. For athletes and our society it is very important to keep the dialogue and give our guys a possibility in a just fight to show what a great sporting country we are, Matytsin added. The Paris Games are due to be held from July 26 until August 11. Pro-Kiev militias urge civilians to flee Russian border cities. Russian volunteer forces fighting alongside Kiev have urged civilians to flee Belgorod and Kursk, threatening large-scale attacks on military targets in the Russian border cities. We call on the local authorities to preserve human lives and begin evacuating the cities of Kursk and Belgorod, 3 groups comprised mainly of Russian citizens said in a joint statement, one day after claiming to have captured a village in Russia's Kursk region. Lithuanian president says attack on Volkhov linked to other provocations. Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda has condemned the attack on Volkhov, the Navalny aide, and alleged it was clearly pre-planned and tied in with other provocations against the Baltic nation. I can only say one thing to Putin, Nobody is afraid of you here, Nosta said. Earlier, the Lithuanian State Security Department said Russia likely organized and executed the attack. Navalny aide accuses Putin of attack in Lithuania. An aide to the late Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny has accused the Kremlin of being responsible for an attack during which he was assaulted with a hammer and tear gas outside his home in Lithuania. On Telegram, Leonid Volkov said he had returned home on Wednesday morning after a night in hospital, suffering from a broken arm and injuries from about 15 hammer blows to the leg. This is an obvious, typical criminal hello from Putin, from criminal Petersburg, he wrote. We will keep on working and we will not surrender, Volkov added. It hard but we'll handle it. It's good to know I'm still alive. Former Navalny spokeswoman Kira Yarmish also posted images of Volkov after the attack on X and wrote, Volkov has just been attacked outside his house. Someone broke a car window and sprayed tear gas in his eyes, after which the attacker started hitting Leonid with a hammer. The Kremlin has not yet responded to the allegation. Fire at Russia's Ryazan refinery extinguished, says Governor. Regional Governor Pavel Makov wrote on Telegram that a fire at an oil refinery in Russia's Ryazan region has been extinguished. 2 are victims with hand injuries. Medical assistance was provided, people's lives are not in danger, Makov wrote. Makov had said earlier that a drone attack had caused the fire to break out. If you're just joining us, let's bring you up to speed with some of the latest developments. Ukraine's SBU security service carried out drone attacks on 3 Russian oil refineries in Ryazan, Kstovo, and Kirishi overnight. At least 2 people were killed in overnight Russian drone and bomb attacks in Ukraine's eastern Sumy and Donetsk regions, local officials said. Putin says Ukraine is increasing its attacks on Russian territory to interfere with the upcoming presidential elections. The leaders of Poland, Germany, and France are set to meet in Berlin on Friday to discuss aid for Ukraine. Pope Francis reiterates condemnation of all wars. Pope Francis has issued a new condemnation of all wars, days after irking Kiev and Western capitals for suggesting that Ukraine should negotiate peace with Russia. Many young people go to die, in war. Let's pray the Lord to give us the grace to overcome this madness of war, which is always a defeat, the Pope said during his weekly audience in St. Peter's Square. In an interview recorded last month, Francis told Swiss broadcaster RSI that Ukraine should show the courage of the white flag and open talks with Russia. On Tuesday, his deputy, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, clarified in an interview that Russia should first halt its aggression. Finland PM, Russia preparing for long conflict with the West. Russia is evidently preparing for a long conflict with the West, Finland's Orpo tells the European Parliament. Russia is not invincible, he added. Finnish PM says EU must manage its own defense. Finnish Prime Minister Petteri Orpo said in a speech in the European Parliament that the European Union must ensure its own defense. Orpo was addressing Parliament after Putin had said in an earlier interview that Finland and Sweden's entry into NATO is a meaningless step and that Moscow will deploy troops and systems of destruction to the Finnish border after it joins the alliance. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post, you won't regret it.